Hello, this is 3SP, and I'm coming to you with another update. This one comes from the New York Times. Wrestling with North Korea, Trump finds perilous options. North Korea's threat on Thursday to test fire ballistic missiles soon near the American territory of Guam deepened the challenge confronting the Trump administration: how to defang Pyongyang's missile program without risking all-out war. President Trump has made clear that his goal is to deny North Korea the capability to field a long-range nuclear-tipped missile that could strike the United States. And though the Pentagon still hopes for a diplomatic solution, highly classified military options are at the ready. Last seriously debated when the Clinton administration pondered preemptive action to try to thwart North Korea's nuclear program. Even a limited strike against North Korean missile on its launching pad, or the shooting down of a missile in midair, would pose risks that the North's leader Kim Jong-un might retaliate, setting off a spiral of escalation that could plunge the Korean peninsula into war. In the event of the first strike against Kim, even a non-nuclear option, it is highly likely that Kim would retaliate at least conventionally against South Korea. James Stavridis, a retired four-star admiral who is now dean of Tufts University Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. This almost certainly would create an upward spiral of violence which would be extremely difficult to manage or to mitigate. The Trump administration's first recourse has been diplomacy. Secretary of State Rex W. Tillerson sought to head off North Korea's missile program this week by suggesting that the United States could open talks with Pyongyang if North Korea would halt its missile tests. On Thursday, however, North Korea raised the stakes by saying that it was considering a plan to test fire 4 intermediate-range Hwasong-12 missiles in international waters near Guam, home to American air and naval bases, as well as THAAD anti-missile system. Mr. Trump hinted broadly later in the day that he has his own military options in mind. Obviously, we're spending a lot of time looking at, in particular, North Korea, he told reporters. And we are preparing for many different alternative events. But few of the military options are straightforward, and some former Pentagon officials involved in the war planning for North Korea pointed to complexities. A major consideration would be whether and when to evacuate American and other allied civilians, which is no small feat, as Seoul, a city of about 10 million, is within range of North Korea's rockets and artillery, and the North Korean military is also armed with chemical and biological weapons. With all this talk, what I worry about is a serious miscalculation, said James D. Thurman, a retired Army general who served as a top United States commander in South Korea from 2011 to 2013. Before we start talking about all these military options, we have to decide what we are going to do with the U.S. citizens over there. He estimated that at least 250,000 Americans would have to be moved. If the United States was prepared to go beyond a limited strike, it could conduct a surprise attack on North Korea's missile garrison and weapon storage areas, using American aircraft stationed in Guam, in Japan, and on aircraft carriers, as well as strategic bombers that would be refueled in flight. American officials, however, do not have high confidence in the military that could find and destroy North Korea's entire arsenal of long-range missiles and nuclear warheads. It would be up to the American missile defenses to knock out any that survived and that North Korea might use to attack the United States. North Korea could also use its artillery, rockets, and special operation forces to attack South Korea. To better defend against the threat, the United States could deploy more of its own artillery, counter-battery, and reconnaissance aircraft to South Korea and send more air and naval forces to the region. But that would forfeit any element of surprise. I can't understand enough how unappealing all the military options are, said Christine Wormuth, a Pentagon top policy official at the end of the Obama administration. This wouldn't end well. The U.S. would win, but it would be ugly. Diplomatic efforts are also deeply complicated. Unless China believes the United States is serious about using military options to head off North Korea's emerging missile threat, it may be difficult to gain the cooperation of Beijing needed to fashion a political solution. I am 100% sure from a number of conversations at last resort, he would use military force to deny them the capability to strike the homeland with a nuclear weapon, said Senator Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican, who met privately with Mr. Trump on an issue a month ago. He has convinced me, Mr. Graham added. Now it is up to him to convince the Chinese and the North Koreans. There's a lot to this article. I'm going to leave it there. One thing I don't really appreciate about this article is you have former generals putting out basically a ton of what I would call semi-intelligence, like basically explaining how America would do this. And that's something we don't need to give our enemies right now, is an idea of how we're going to operate. Why are they doing that? But North Korea is trying to provoke something from the United States. I read in a different article earlier this morning that it wasn't North Korea saying that they were going to test fire missiles, but they said they were going to do a nuclear attack on Guam. So it looks like the different sources are giving different information. And since this one's the New York Times being a more liberal, left-leaning publication, what they're going to do what it takes to make it look like the administration is being aggressive and unreasonable. But the different threats from North Korea are that they're going to fire nuclear weapons at Guam. So really, they're trying to provoke something. What's the reason, though? Is this an ambush? Is this an ambush from China? So they're trying as hard as they can to provoke the Americans into action. Is this an ambush? We already know that Russia and China are sitting right now with their tanks and military at the North Korean border. So again, is this an ambush? Are they setting up Kim Jong-un to provoke us to attack him so that they can attack us? Again, these are things we have to worry about. And this is 3SP signing out.